Welcome everyone. We are thrilled to have Gemma from Fareshare with us today. Over to you, Gemma.
Thank you, Alice. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. So I'm here to talk to you about Fareshare. I'm Gemma and I'm the volunteer coordinator at Fareshare Sussex and Surrey. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we fit into the bigger Fareshare picture to start. So Fareshare UK is a national charity and it's kind of regionally run in the different regions by individual charities. So we are Fareshare Sussex and Surrey. We've had a warehouse in Brighton for over 20 years that was delivering to both East and West Sussex and some areas of Surrey. We've been open just over a year, based in the centre of Guildford. And so that's us becoming a two warehouse region. So it means we can now deliver food to the whole of Surrey, and it means we can receive food from a wider area as well. A little bit about what we do. So we receive surplus food, that's food in the supply chain that is good quality, in date, and for a variety of reasons, if we didn't receive it and redistribute it, it would go into landfill. So we are looking at sort of two problems really. We're reducing the environmental impact of that food being wasted by redistributing it to people in need. So we have a warehouse that's full of ambient room temperature food, but we also have a large walk-in freezer and chiller full of frozen and chilled foods, so able to receive all types of food. We have a large proportion of that food is fruit and vegetables as well. So at any time it can be between 40 or 50%. And a lot of that fruit and vegetable comes from agriculture, it comes from farm gates, and it can be because it's like wonky veg like we get in the supermarket. So we may receive like a whole pallet of apples, like a ton of apples that are slightly the wrong size, or maybe because of the season's glut. So we'll have a lot of pumpkins in October or sprouts in January. So a real variety. Our food profile changes all the time, and our job is to redistribute that out then to people who need it. So a little bit about where it goes. We work with community projects and charities all over East and West Sussex and Surrey. And so they are food banks and community fridges, community pantries, but also a whole range of charities such as residential accommodation for young people, home shelters, women's refuges, a whole really wide variety. So that's a bit about who we are and what we do. So volunteering with us, our warehouse and our vans are mainly volunteer run. So Guildford, we have, I was going to say a large warehouse, but compared to some warehouses, it's a fairly small one. And we have 4 to 6 volunteers in the warehouse at any one time, normally. We have 4 staff on site overseeing what's happening in the warehouse. We also have volunteers who drive our vans, and for every van that goes, we also have a second person on the van who's keeping company, helping them do the deliveries and navigate to the projects, and they're called a driver mates. So we have 3 main volunteer roles, a warehouse assistant in the warehouse, a van driver or a driver's mate. So we have 2 vans at the moment, one's a diesel and one's electric. So we normally have both vans out every morning as well doing deliveries. So already you can see that's up to sort of 10 volunteers a day, and we're Monday to Friday. So every day we're looking for people to help us. We're in the process of expanding who we can deliver to in Surrey. So we need more volunteers to help us expand and have the capacity to receive more food and redistribute it. So that's a little bit about the roles. In terms of the process of applying with us, so if you express an interest, the first thing I normally do is either give you an email or a ring and invite you to come and have a look. Not everyone has kind of been in this kind of environment before, so it's nice to come and have a look and see what we do. It gives you a chance to talk more about the volunteer roles and what you'd be interested in as well. Have a look round, meet the staff, meet some of the other volunteers. It's very informal. It's as much for you as it is for us to just meet you. And following that, if you're interested, you can apply to volunteer with us. So it's a standard application form with, contact details, the next of kin. We do ask for a reference for every volunteer. We only ask for a DBS check if you're going to be a van driver. Otherwise, it's just a reference. So there's an online application form, and following that, you can come in for a morning and do an induction. So for the induction, we suggest allow about 3 hours for a morning. And during that time, we spend some time going through the volunteer handbook, which includes information on health and safety, food hygiene, because we're a food business, and some of our surrounding policies, such as safeguarding. And then we get you in your PPE, so you get to get your gear on for the first time and come out to the warehouse. And then we do some manual handling training. So we're very focused, obviously, being a warehouse, on health and safety and training, and make sure you're well supported and happy in the environment. So we'll do some manual handling training, and then you get to stay on, meet the team, and probably do about half an hour in the warehouse to get a feel for it, find out what we do. So from that point onwards, we look at when you can volunteer. So we ask all our volunteers for a commitment of 1 shift a week regularly, rather than being an ad hoc system, because of the level of training needed and because we need to fulfill our commitments to deliver to our projects every day. So we operate a rota system, and it's either a morning or afternoon shift. So 9 till 1 or 12 till 4 approximately for in the warehouse. For the drivers and drivers' mates, it's a morning shift. So it's more like 8:45 until about 1. So yeah, we look at when you're available, and we can add you to the rota going forward as soon as you've done your induction and you're good to go. For drivers, there's a little more training. So we take you out in the van, you do a little assessment, and there's a bit more paperwork. But yeah, for the warehouse, it's just that morning, and then you can be added to the rota. We pride ourselves on really looking after our volunteers. We're a great community of people from all different backgrounds with all different life experience, and we have a great group of people, so we hope it'd be a real pleasure for you to be part of. We are always looking at ongoing training and how we can support you, as well as doing things like volunteer socials, making sure the kitchen is stocked up with goodies for tea breaks, and lunch is available if you're available to stay. And yeah, just trying to think if there's anything about the process, anything else to add. That kind of covers everything in brief, unless there's anything you can think of, Alice, that would be useful that I haven't said, or if there's any questions.